Hello everyone, today Fan continues to tell 5 stories about life. Please listen. Story 171, The Key to Refined Wine. In a small village in Tuscany, there lived a winemaker named Marco. Every day, from dawn to dusk, Marco worked tirelessly to cultivate each vineyard in the hope of producing the best wine. He watered, pruned, and inspected each bunch of grapes carefully. But despite his tireless work, the quality of his wine still did not reach the flavor he expected, while others, with a relaxed appearance, produced excellent batches of wine. Having heard of Giorgio, a master winemaker in the area, Marco sought his guidance. When he arrived, Marco was surprised to see Giorgio sitting under a tree, enjoying a glass of wine next to a ripe vineyard. He looked completely relaxed and unhurried like Marco. Marco asked in surprise, "Sir, why do I work hard from morning to night, but my wine still does not reach the rich flavor of yours?" Giorgio smiled and replied, "You know, winemaking is an art of patience and subtlety. You can work hard, but if you don't pay attention to the right time, the grapes will never reach their perfect flavor." He pointed to the bunches of grapes in the vineyard, each one plump and full in the pale sunlight. Winemaking is not just about working hard, it's about working at the right time when the grapes are at their sweetest, Giorgio continued. Sometimes the most important thing is to observe nature and feel the flavors that the grapes are developing. Harvesting at the right time will make a difference, rushing will only ruin the whole batch. Hearing this, Marco was enlightened. From then on, he worked more slowly, tending the vines with understanding rather than haste. He learned to taste the ripest grapes, letting them absorb all the sweetness and aroma before picking. Before long, Marco's wine was better than ever, and he finally succeeded, not just through hard work, but through understanding the importance of each moment in the winemaking process. Lesson: hard work is important, but true success comes from doing the right thing at the right time. Sometimes, slowing down and observing will yield much better results than rushing into the task.
Story 172, Learning to Listen. In a small town on the banks of the Seine, there lived a girl named Clara. Clara was an art student who loved to create, but she often felt lonely amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life. She wanted to create unique and inspiring works of art, but often did not know where to find inspiration. One day, Clara heard about an old artist named Henry, who was famous for his paintings that expressed life and deep emotions. Hearing that Henry would be holding an art talk at his gallery, Clara decided to attend to learn more about his creative process. When the talk began, many other young artists also showed up, eager to ask Henry questions. They were all looking for the secret to creating impressive works, but most of them were busy talking about themselves and their own ideas. Meanwhile, Henry just sat and listened, sometimes smiling and nodding. After a while, Clara noticed that Henry was in no hurry to share his secrets. He listened attentively to every question and every sharing of the young artists, as if he was taking in every opinion and emotion they had. Finally, when the artists had finished speaking, Henry stood up and said, "My friends, the most important thing in art is not just what we say but what we listen to. Listening not only helps us understand the thoughts of others but also opens new doors for our own ideas. The stories, emotions and experiences of each person around us can all become valuable sources of inspiration." Clara felt like a breath of fresh air was blowing into her heart. She realized that the stories that people shared during that conversation were not only a way to communicate, but also an opportunity to learn and grow. From then on, she began to practice listening, not only in art but also in everyday life. A few months later, Clara participated in an art exhibition, and her painting called The Sounds of Life attracted a lot of attention. In her work, Clara expressed the emotional nuances of the stories she heard from the people around her, making the painting vivid and inspiring. Lesson: The best listeners are the ones who learn the most. Listening not only opens up new horizons of knowledge but also connects us to each other's stories and emotions. It is the source of inspiration for us to grow and create.
Story 173, The Light of Difference. In a small village nestled in the lush green fields of northern Italy, there lived a girl named Sophia. She was famous in her village for her amazing painting talent. Each of Sophia's paintings was full of life and beautiful colors, leaving everyone in awe. Although Sophia loved painting, she often compared herself to other artists. She often looked at their works and wondered why she couldn't paint as well as them. Maybe I'm not talented enough, Sophia often thought. Filled with doubt, one day, on a trip to a nearby big city, Sophia visited an art exhibition. She stood silently in front of a large, beautiful painting by a famous artist. The vibrant colors and delicate strokes overwhelmed her. I will never be able to reach that level, Sophia sighed, feeling discouraged. As she turned to leave, an elderly woman with silver hair and bright eyes smiled at her. "Young lady, do you see something special in this painting?" she asked. "It's talent," Sophia replied. "I certainly couldn't do that." The woman looked at her, her eyes filled with understanding. Talent is one thing, but what's more important is the emotion and the story you want to convey. Look at your paintings again. They breathe life into them. Don't compare yourself to others, find and develop your own style. Her words were like a breath of fresh air to Sophia's soul. She returned to her village, determined to start over. Instead of trying to paint like other artists, Sophia began to explore what made her special. She spent her time painting memories, emotions, and beautiful scenes that only she could see. She did not hesitate to express her love for nature, the simple joys in everyday life. As time passed, Sophia created a unique collection of paintings, bearing her personal mark. She decided to organize a private exhibition for her works in the village. On the opening day, the villagers flocked to see. They were fascinated by the paintings, feeling the joy, sadness and memories in each stroke. When she saw the eyes of everyone, Sophia realized that she had found her own voice in art. She no longer compared herself to others, but discovered her own uniqueness. Each painting is not only a work of art, but also a story, a vivid memory that she wants to share with the world. Lesson: do not compare yourself to others. Focus on your own progress. Everyone has their own journey and their own beauty and expression. When you dare to explore and develop yourself, you will find your own light and value, creating miracles in life.
Story 174, Under the Shade of the 100-Year-Old Tree. Rain falls gently on the ancient trees in the courtyard of an old European villa, where a little-known story exists. The old villa, with rusty iron fences and moss-covered stone walls, was once the residence of Mr. Albrecht von Erhardt, a successful and noble businessman. He became famous throughout Germany in the 1920s thanks to his huge fortune and endless parties in the upper class. But behind that halo is a completely different story. After many years of hard work, Mr. Albrecht finally entered old age, rich and lonely. No wife, children, friends, and relatives gradually disappeared into the flow of time. Every afternoon, he sat quietly under the shade of the 100-year-old tree in the large garden, only the rustling of leaves and conversation. Those were rare moments when he did not think about money or fame. Instead, he watched the raindrops fall, listened to the birds chirping loudly, and felt an indescribable emptiness. One afternoon, little Maria, the gardener's daughter, sneaked into the garden to play. When she saw the old man with a distant look in her eyes, she boldly sat down beside him, wordlessly handing him a branch of wild flowers. She smiled brightly, the pure smile of a child not yet tainted by worries. At that moment, Mr. Albrecht seemed to be awakened from his gloom. Day after day, He and Maria often chatted under the shade of the tree, talking about the little things that he had never noticed before. The gusts of wind, the rustling of leaves, and the scent of damp soil after rain, things he had ignored all his life in pursuit of money and fame. It was Maria's innocence and simplicity that helped him realize that true joy did not come from the numbers that he had once constrained himself to pursue. As time passed, Mr. Albrecht gave all his assets to charities and kept only the old villa. He lived a simple life with his little friend Maria and her family, creating warm memories that money could not buy. When he passed away, he no longer felt lonely and empty. He understood that sincere relationships and simple experiences are the true treasures of life. Lesson: happiness cannot be bought with money. The true value of life lies in sincere relationships and small, simple, but profound experiences, like the shade of 100-year-old tree firmly in people's hearts, never fading away.
Story 175, A Cup of Coffee on the Old Street. Every morning, Peter stopped by the small coffee shop on the corner of the street to sit quietly alone. It was a habit he had kept for many years, ever since the day he broke up with his best friend, John. The two used to be inseparable friends, going through all the ups and downs of life together. But one day, in a moment of tension, they argued about a small matter that neither of them could remember the reason for. The angry words uttered in a moment of loss of control created an irreparable distance. From then on, they lost contact with each other. One morning, while sitting sipping a cup of hot coffee in the chilly autumn weather, Peter suddenly saw John passing by the shop. John also saw him and paused, a bit of hesitation appearing on his face. The two looked at each other for a few seconds, then Peter smiled and waved, inviting John to sit with him. Perhaps it was because of the loneliness that he felt his heart lighter, no longer feeling resentful like before. John walked into the cafe, sat across from Peter. Both were silent for a moment, feeling awkward like two strangers. But then Peter broke the silence with a simple question: "How are you doing?" A small question, but it opened the door to the pent-up feelings in their hearts. They talked about the past years, about work, family, joys and sorrows. Both realized that, in fact, those old resentments were not worth keeping in their hearts forever. Life was too short for them to keep small wounds in their hearts forever. They laughed at each other, recounted old memories, and in that moment, they became close friends again. From that day on, Peter no longer went to the cafe alone. He and John sat together every morning, quietly enjoying a warm cup of coffee in the cold weather. This time, they know how to appreciate every moment, every simple story, because both understand that forgiveness and letting go are the ways to reconnect with the most precious things in life. Lesson: forgiveness does not have to be a grand act. Sometimes, it is just a smile, a nod, or a simple question. Letting go of resentment not only helps us feel lighter but also opens the door for good things to return. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and see you in the next short stories about life.